Hello everyone, welcome back. And I hope till now you're enjoying the course and I hope you enjoyed the lab session as well that was previously conducted. So at this point, it's safe to assume that you are well versed with the basics of Ansible. Again, if you have any doubts, any queries, you can post in the comment section or else go revisit my videos in the playlist and get it cleared out. So that will be very helpful for you guys. Again, and also, if you directly jumped onto this video, I would suggest that please go through the playlist again and start from the beginning, that is from the introduction. So you will be well aware about what we are talking about and you will be well versed with the basics of Ansible. So next, we are going to look at modules and plugins. So these are two next the integral part of Ansible, which helps Ansible to perform few activities or tasks that we script around for automation purposes. So let's dive into it. So first we'll talk about modules. So I have been talking about modules since past 3 lectures, and also we saw a few examples of modules in the lab session as well. So what exactly are modules? So modules are the core units of work that do the actual work in Ansible. So without modules, we cannot have that integral freedom of doing a wide variety of tasks across the infrastructure. So these modules are basically packed into you packed modules into using Python and do a specific function which we desire to do onto the infrastructure. So these modules are directly executed on the host which we specify in the Ansible script. So these modules can have a wide variety of they can perform a wide variety of activities such as and across various packages, users, services, networks, cloud resources, etc. So everything what we do, what we are able to do in Ansible, that's because of modules. So let's look into an example. So this is one example that we also performed in the lab session as well. So here APT that we used was a module that is specified into the documentation of Ansible. So what purpose it serves is APT is a package manager. So it's a package module. So like APT, there are n number of modules that are present onto the and have been deployed in the Ansible source code, and they help us achieve whatever task we want to automate without any manual intervention. So here are some commonly used modules. So I will give you 5 seconds. You can take a screenshot. So and we will also refer these modules one by one. So we have already seen APT or YUM. That is, these are kind of package installation. So these are examples of that we use for installing a package onto the Linux host or Linux machine or the Linux server. So using this APT or YUM, we don't need to run a command on the terminal. We just have to use this package managers the modules, and we are good to go. Then the service module. We have also seen this example in the previous lecture. So to start or stop a service, we can use the service module, and that helps us to deploy any services that we require. In our suppose we have to start a web server. So for that, whatever relevant service will be is there, or a database server. So the relevant database service, we need to start with using the service module. Next is the copy module. So if we want to copy a few files from within the same node from one directory to another, or from across few one host to another, from one node to another, so we will use the copy module. Next is the file module. So this file module is specifically for modifying or changing the files, and we can also change the membership permissions or the ownership of the files. Next is the user module. So if you want to create new users onto the host machine, or the whichever host that is mentioned in the Ansible file, we will use the user module. Then the command module we have saw previously in the lab session. So to run simple shell commands, we can use the command module. Just use the module and specify the command that we want to run inside the Ansible script. Then there is shell. Similarly, and we can use shell module to run pipes and redirects. And so you can use execute commands through shell using the shell module. This is a template module. So we can use this template module to deploy Jinja 2 templates using our Ansible script. Then you are aware about Git, and so if you want to update some repos or create or clone a few repos, then or push our source code into the repositories, so we can use the Git module. And finally, there is a URI module that is used to essentially make API calls. That is used to post or get HTTP requests. We can use the URI one. So this is a documentation website called as docs.ansible.com. So here you will find the exact the whole directory of modules and how the modules work. What are the parameters to be used? Which are the compulsory parameters to be mentioned inside the script? Also, if you need to find the specific module to which is specific to your requirement, so you will find everything. And also there are examples attached to every module as well about the how to use the module. So you can go to the documentation, read about it, find the required modules, and we are good to go. So modules are very important to understand. Definitely, we cannot memorize all the modules and what do they do. So documentation comes in very handy at that moment of time. All right. So next bit is plugins. The name suggests. So what is a plugin? So like we use plugins in our browser. So what they do is extend a functionality inside the browser and by connecting with some other piece of code. So that's when plugins come into picture. So if we want to attach some functionality to our script without modifying the source code of our Ansible script, then that time plugins come into picture. So these plugins work behind the scenes, and they are used for a wide variety of things, like such as they are used to manage connections, outputs, variables, or templating, etc. So similarly, these plugins are also written in Python, and they are specifically designed for some functionality. So in the next slide, we'll see what are the different type of plugins. So this is also a list of the most commonly used plugins. So we'll go through it one by one. So first is the callback plugin. So the callback plugin is essentially used to display how the output should be displayed. That is controlled by the callback plugin. So it's very important. Like sometimes we perform a single task, and we want some output of that in a log format, or we want to visualize that format in some case. So at that point of time, callback plugins will come into picture, and we can use those plugins to modify the output. Second is the connection plugin. So it defines how the Ansible will connect to the remote host. So I have mentioned that if there is a Linux host, then SSH will be used. Similarly, if it's a Windows host, then WinRM have to be used. If we are using a containerization platform, so that Docker comes into picture. So all the for every host, so we can use connection plugins to define how Ansible should treat this connection and go on ahead before connecting it. And third is the inventory plugin. Now, as I mentioned in the inventory lecture, so there are two types of inventories. One is the static inventory that is written in the ini format, and we specify every host username, password, or it says SSH key, or the host name, or the IP name. But what if there is a huge infrastructure on, say, a cloud provider like AWS? So we can't just go on and manually type in each host and expect that us to hard code it, and Ansible will go ahead and perform the activities on those hosts. So in that case, inventory plugins come into picture, where there are plugins available for major cloud providers such as AWS, Amazon, GCP, etc. So that in that case, dynamically inventory can be fetched when before running the Ansible script. So we don't need to manually hard code in the inventory file. So next are a few not that important, but we can go through it. So there are lookup plugins, such as this is used to pull some data from an external source, like a few environment variables, like passwords from a world, or any URLs that are stored outside our environment. So that time lookup plugins come into picture. Then filter plugins. So this is an extension of Jinja templating. So if we want to modify the output of some things, like we want to have output in lowercase or uppercase, so at that time, or we want a specific output to be shown, like we want to filter out some the output from some parameters, so using some parameters, that time filter plugins come into picture. Then variables plugin, so it is used to load variables dynamically from some data store. So that time variable plugins come into picture. Then strategy plugins, say they control how the tasks are executed. Like we can ahead Ansible, we can customize it in our own way, so that we can strategize how the tasks are executed and say on and decide how the tasks go on ahead. Then finally the cache plugin. Then this is controlled. This plugin can be used to gather facts and control how they are stored. So like it's not always recommended that like I have discussed in fact that Ansible always goes and gets the facts like the host OS, host IPs and everything. So instead of that, we can cache the some data and periodically once in a while can gather facts. So that functionality can be modified using the cache plugins. All right, that's it for this lecture. And in the next lecture, we'll discuss about conditionals and loops. Thank you.